Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, shloka number 11 to 15.
सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्यात् विवृद्धं सत्त्वमित्युत लोभः प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणामशमस्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ अप्रकाशो प्रवृत्तिश्च प्रमादो मोह एव च तमस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे कुरु नन्दन यदा सत्त्वे प्रवृद्धे तु प्रलयं याति देहभृत् तदोत्तमविदां लोकान् अमलान् प्रतिपद्यते रजसि प्रलयं गत्वा कर्मसङ्गिषु जायते तथा प्रलीनस्तमसि मूढयोनिषु जायते.
So far in this chapter 14, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of distinction between three gunas, we have covered up to shloka number 11. In shloka number 11, he talks about Satva predominating in a personality. What is the outcome of that? So he says, when the light of wisdom streams forth through all the gates of this body, all the gates in this body, then it may be known that Satva indeed is predominant. So when the light of wisdom streams forth through all the gates in the body, he says, it may be known that Satva indeed is predominant. So this light of wisdom streaming forth through all the gates of the body, we discussed last week, through the perceptions, actions, emotions and thoughts. At all level, the person who is predominated by Satva guna, will have clarity. He will understand that there is no joy per se in perception. There is no joy per se in the contact with the world. And he will have clarity that there is real joy or happiness is in action only, not in the result. And with reference to emotions, the person will have purified the negative aspects of emotion. So his emotions will be love, kindness. He will be more charitable, forgiving, giving in nature. Forgiving is nothing but giving at the mental level. So all these would be the light of wisdom streaming forth in the emotional level, at the emotional level. Then at the intellectual level, the person will have clarity as to what is permanent, what is impermanent. What is that what is that which we will take with us from one life to another. So what has to be valued? What is essential, what is non-essential? So all this clarity will be there streaming forth in the person. who's predominated by Satva. We already discussed what is the nature of Satva and how Satva binds. What is the nature of Rajas and how Rajas binds. What is the nature of Tamas and how Tamas binds. And here he's talking about how Satva, when it predominates, it brings clarity at all levels. What is happening in our life is without this clarity, we do any activity and we get caught by that activity itself. Spiritually speaking, we'll be producing more and more vasanas. That is fine. That is fine in the sense that is at the spiritual level. But even at the mundane level, we get caught simply because we lack clarity. Any temptation, we fall for it. Why? Because we do not have clarity. Time and again we have discussed this, so nothing wrong in repeating it once again. For example, somebody saying that this you will get free. Everybody goes berserk. We run after it. However intelligent we could be. We could have all kinds of degrees and PhDs. But if somebody is giving something free, we fall for it. That is because we lack clarity. Otherwise, why will we fall for it? There is nothing free in life. We must be very clear about this. Either you have paid it before, or you are going to pay it later, or you pay and better get it. So when something you touch, you tell yourself, have I paid for it? In what way have I paid for it? Then I'm okay to touch it. Otherwise, there is a trap. Obviously, if something is being given to you free, somewhere there is a trap. If you have clarity, you'll be clear, you'll be very careful. I will not touch. Let me see. Why should I fall into that? So always be alert. See, the thing is, later on in the 18th chapter, we will study. We will say that which is pleasurable in the beginning is painful in the end. Especially he's talking about the sense contacts. And that which is painful, for example, self-control, sense control, mind control, these are painful in the beginning. Being a little bit disciplined, it's painful in the beginning, but pleasurable in the end. So what happens in life is things are very easy. We go after it. We choose that because we lack clarity. Shortcut methods. So all that you will avoid and you will not get trapped. You won't fall for the bondage. That's what he means. That's what he wants to say. So when the light of wisdom streams forth through all the gates in the body, then it may be known that Satva indeed is predominant. The Sattvic person will think twice. He will not fall for anything that is offered on a plate. He will think, what is going to happen? Many a times we do actions and then we regret. Isn't it? And that will not be there when there is Satva. That is what he is trying to say here. Next, he talks about Rajas and Tamas. Let's get on to shloka number 12.
Lobha pravrittirarambha karmanamasamasspruha rajasyetani jayante vivruddhe bharatarshava.
Lobha means greed. Greed, activity, undertaking of works, unrest, longing. These arise when Rajas predominates, O Bharatarshava. Bharatarshava is another name of Arjuna. Sri Krishna addresses Arjuna as Bharatarshava. Bull among the Bharata race. See, bull is worshipped for the principle that it follows. The principle bull follows is it takes in minimum. Consumption is minimum. Contribution is maximum. Throughout the day, the bull contributes in the agriculture field and it takes very little. So we worship bull for that principle. So you are the bull. Bull also means strong. Strength is in sacrifice. Weakness is functioning on desires. In fact, if you have a desire, one desire is enough to finish you. You have too many. But even one desire is enough to finish. One weakness is enough to finish us. Even in cricket, especially modern day sports, any sports for that matter, especially in cricket, you may be a great player. But if you have one weakness, that's enough. Some of them have the weakness for rising delivery. And when that fellow is exposed, they finish off his career. His career is over. So, greed, activity. The sign of Rajas is greed. Dil mange more. I want more and more and more and more. Never contented, satisfied. Restlessly jumping into activity to fulfill the desires. See, the mind's nature is extroverted and it will crave for what it does not have and gets attached to what it possesses. So, to satisfy the craving, we need to get on to activities, and with through activities, whatever we acquire, the mind gets attached to that, and as a result, to retain what we have gained, not to lose it, because attachment brings that fear. I might lose it, I might lose it. So, to retain it, I might have to do a lot of activities. So, restlessly, I will be functioning. And interestingly, he says, undertaking of works. See, undertaking of works means literally also, and attitude that I am starting something. When he talks about the qualities of an evolved soul, he says, Sarva Aramba Parityagi. He doesn't undertake any work. He renounces all undertakings. Whereas here he says, when a person is predominated by rajas, the person is known for this. What is that? Undertaking of works. This is what I was explaining to you. Before you close one loan, we discussed this. As much as possible, try to live without taking loan. That shows that you are able to handle your desires better. But ultimately, end of the day, life is all about managing, controlling, directing your desires. And this is not taught in any schools or colleges. In schools and colleges, you gain intelligence and you equip yourself with maybe certain other skills which will help you to earn a living. But you have to manage your desires, because that is sitting within you to destroy you. If you manage, control, direct it, you can succeed in life and be happy. So, try and see to live without any loans. But just in case you take loan, after assessing your risk capacity and all that, before closing down that loan, first of all, if you have decided to take loan, you have to be extremely disciplined in paying those loans on time. Now, what happens in many places is they don't even pay the loan, existing loan, or maybe they paid in the beginning, then later on they didn't, and they take another loan if possible. In the sense, too many commitments. See, you start an industry, you have to make that industry self-sufficient. Before that becomes self-sufficient, you start another. Because something comes, you say, we got to take risk. It's a very interesting thing to know whether it is you are taking intelligent risk or it's beyond what you can chew. At the greed comes, you say, you have to take it, otherwise you will lose it. So you go on and on and on, going on, taking too many commitments. Too many commitments. That is Rajas, typical Rajas. Unconnected businesses sometimes people start in. See, supposing you're starting one unit. Of course, everybody's business has to grow. So one unit you've established, then you go to another unit. That's fine. But before one unit is established, if you start another, then how will you grow? You'll not be able to balance, So, it's a big challenge. A lot of people, because of greed, because of rajas, they commit themselves into too many things. and then their balance in life goes for a toss. Therefore, he says greed, activity, undertaking of work, unrest, mental agitation, and longing, craving. These arise when Rajas predominates, O Bharata Rishabha. So he's addressing Arjuna as Bharata Rishabha here to say that you are a very strong person, a highly sacrificial person. You are able to see, he is the one who asked, is this righteous to fight this battle? He's got all the sanction, the bugle is blown. He can go and wage the war, but he's asking, is this righteous, what we are doing? So there is some kind of a restraint. So he's telling you have to be like a bull, control your own rajas, otherwise it will destroy you. It will run like a chicken without head. You will be functioning in the world. It will appear very nice in the beginning. Too many activities beyond your capacity. That's what he's saying. Complete involvement in the world. Mind is running helter-skelter, not able to control the mind. He goes with the mind, gets involved in too many things. People don't even have time to have breakfast. They have breakfast in the car. You can't even sit and enjoy your meal. Now, the thing is, you have to be active, you have to be dynamic, but not to this extent where you can't even have time to have breakfast. You're so busy, you don't even have time to have breakfast because too much commitment is there. See, when you are busy, what it means is you are not organized. If you're busy, it means you're not organized. That's all it means. You can't reach a person, means he's busy, means he's not organized. If a person is organized, he'll have all the time in the world. So that is what he's trying to say here. The Rajasic person, because he is not able to handle his own desires, he commits into too many aspects in the world, and then he will be very busy but highly unproductive. Whereas an organized person will have time and also be highly productive. So we need to understand this. In fact, in India, many places I see this. If you go for an appointment on time, they think that it will be misunderstood as if you are not so busy person. Somebody told me this, actually, especially in the weddings. In the wedding card, it will say 8 p.m. North Indian weddings, the evenings it happens. 8 p.m., 9 p.m. like that. You go there at 8 p.m., nobody will be there. Slowly, the bride and the bridegroom will come around 9:30, 10. Then slowly, crowd will come. You look like a stupid fellow having gone there on time. So there was an article written in one of the newspapers, which is what I read. It says that this is the understanding that if you are there on time, it is kind of construed as you are a very useless fellow. You are not that busy. So if you are a busy guy, if you want to show yourself as somebody who is very busy, you should not go on time. I was amazed. So all this kind of thinking also is going on probably. So that is what he's saying. And literally, whether you're doing it for that purpose or not, it only means that you are not able to manage your mind. It's as simple as that. This shows that you're not able to manage your mind. Even how you keep your table, how you keep your room, everything expresses how you are handling your mind, how good you are in handling your mind. So these uncontrolled desires, they multiply. Desires are like bacteria. 1 will become 2, 2 will become 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. It will go on. It will multiply very fast. And once we feed the desires and it starts multiplying, and it's very difficult to control. And we will be propelled to action before we can sit and think. There is no calmness for us to really think. And when doing the action, there is this feverish doing. I have to do, I have to complete this. That's what he's talking about. No. So desires multiply and it becomes greed. And then you develop a feverish activity. In the sense you develop feverish attitude towards life. Just, I have to do, I have to do. I get involved. I have to complete this. There's a pressure inside. And you'll be constantly taking up work. You can't keep quiet for a second. Your mind will not be able to rest for a second. Because you say bored. I am bored. Kuch na kuch. Please give me something. I am bored. We are not able to spend time with ourselves. We need something or the other, some gadget or the others to be busy. So that's what he's saying. So Rajasic person is one who is propelled by desires, driven by desires, full of desires which are uncontrolled and constantly driven by desires. That is a Rajasic person. That's the sign of a Rajasic person. So you've got to control and direct your desires. And this is very common. You will see what he said about Sattvic person. To see very Sattvic person in a society is very rare. They're far and few. Rajasic person and Tamasic person, there are too many people out there. Too many Rajasic and too many Tamasic people are there. To find a Sattvic person is difficult. Isn't it? Who's calm, composed, serene, balanced, able to handle the desires. Difficult. So we tend to get involved, easily start commitments. And we feel that, I'm involved in too many activities. So I'm very important because I need to cater to my ego. Ego wants to feel that without that, nothing can go on. So there is involvement, the doership attitude. All this is Rajas. Another typical trait of a Rajasic person is craving. Craving. He mentions that longing. That's why mind is compared to fire. Fire will not rest content even after swallowing the entire forest. After swallowing the whole forest, it will look for more. Similarly, after achieving many things, we still long for more. We start longing for somebody else's property also. And we will be genuinely thinking that we have been fooled. We have been given very little. I'll never be satisfied. That longing will be there. That is typical trait of a Rajasic person. So Rajas brings about stress, and that is caused by your own mishandling or wrong handling of your desires. It's not caused by any environment or anybody outside. It's caused by your own activities. So it says greed, activity, undertaking of works, unrest, longing. These arise when Rajas predominates over Bharat Rishabha. I remember many years ago, Swamiji used to talk about certain habits amongst business people. He says, especially, I was talking about the unconnected businesses they acquire. He was giving example of that. He said there was a gentleman who was doing very well in his business, and he was almost number one in his business in his country. Now, suddenly what happened? There's a lot of wealth coming from the business, and unconnected business was there on sale. So this person thought that he could buy that and then he can grow further. It's not like the businesses had any connection, totally different business. And he had to, borrow loan. He went for it, and then he couldn't manage both. From number one position, he's become a bankrupt. This is called undertaking of works. An undertaking of work also means I am the doer. When he said about an evolved person, Sarva Arambha Parityagi, doesn't mean that he will not start any work. He will think before starting 25 times. And if he starts also, he will not have the attitude that I have started something. See, Bhagavad Gita is the essence of Upanishads. Upanishads, too many Upanishads are there given by great masters. And this knowledge has been flowing like Ganges for so many years. And to feel that I have started it is the stupidity. So any activity for that matter, to think that I have started is madness. That attitude that I am the doer, that's what causes stress. But we wrongly think that the action is causing stress. Action cannot cause stress. It is our wrong attitude to work that causes stress. When you free yourself from action, you temporarily feel relaxed. You're not stressed. And you think, see, I've stopped acting, therefore I'm stress-free. So what is bringing stress is action. No. When you start an action, you go with the attitude that I am the doer. That I am the doer is what is causing stress. But you attribute it to the action. So, in today's world, they talk about multitasking. Right? Multitasking, you can do too many things at a time, but each one has to be done focused for X amount of time. Then you can, while this is happening, you can go to the next. While this is under process, something is put in automation, it's going on, you can go to the next. Then once that is done, you can go to the next. So we are not saying you should have only one business, but first establish them. Then go to the next. Then go to the next. So many people have made these mistakes. And after studying all this, so many people have saved themselves. They won't know. They won't know that they have saved themselves. But actually they have saved themselves, because if they had got too many things to handle, then they would be finished. Dependence. They create dependence. You will say, okay, that person will handle this. Means what? You have now become dependent. Rajas is a trait which will not be so much focused about, so much concerned about dependence. When you're sattvic, you will be careful. I should not become dependent. See, the quality of satya is that it is independent. Mithya means it's dependent. So when you understand this, it's not just for the discussion sake. We'll say satya means independent, mithya is dependent. For example, pots are dependent on clay. Clay is independent of pots. Clay can exist independent of being made into pots. But pots cannot exist without clay. So clay is dependent. Clay is independent. Pots are dependent. All these things we'll discuss. But from that, what we learn, what we have to learn is sattvic person will try to see in everything he would like to be independent. Even if he has to start second or third activity, he does not want to compromise on the independence. The Rajasic fellow, when he starts too many activities, Compromising his independence he will do. And the dependence will bring stress. The moment you are relying, you rely on the outside factor means there is stress. You rely on your own legs, no stress. You rely on somebody else's legs, stress. So these are the fundamental things we need to learn about stress. Stress is caused by relying on outside factors, not being independent, increasing our dependence. And then stress is caused by the doership in us. I am the doer. It's not the action, it's the doership. And we will be stressed if we are not organized, if we are not disciplined. Indiscipline will cause stress. All these are typical traits of a Rajasic fellow. That's what he's saying. Greed. Activity. Activity per se is good, but coupled with greed, that is the problem, na? Activity is coupled with greed. And unmindful undertaking of works, restlessness at the mental level, and craving. These are the typical traits of a Rajasic person, he says. So, when we study all these things, we have to find out which are these areas where I have increased my dependence, where all I can reduce my dependence. I must try to reduce my dependence. In today's world, supposing your driver is not there, you should be able to drive the car. Now, if the car is not working, you should have the capacity to take a public transport and go. A lot of people cannot. They just cannot. Dependence. You've lost that capacity to stand on your feet. That is Rajas. Next, Tamas.
Aprakasho pravrittischa pramado moha evacha tamasyetani jayante vivruddhe kuru nandana.
Darkness. Aprakasha. Aprakasha. Prakasha means brightness. Aprakasha means darkness, means ignorance. Apravritti, inertness, laziness, inertia. And he says pramadaha, heedlessness, heedless to consequence. And then mohaha, delusion, confusion. These are the qualities. These arise when tamas predominates, O Kuru Nandana, the joy of the Kuru clan. You have to be careful not to fall into this ignorance. A tamasic fellow will jump into something in which he has no understanding whatsoever. Simply because everybody is going, you will go. You have no knowledge, zero knowledge. Blindly you will jump. Ignorance. That is the typical trait of a tamasic. And laziness, inertia. Because you have to think means you have to put in effort. Thinking involves a lot of effort. You have to analyze. So many people are doing, let me also do. Why should I sit and think? There is a lot of laziness there. Inertia. How can so many people go wrong? So darkness, ignorance, inertness, laziness, inertia. And then heedless to the consequence. We have discussed this already. And also delusion. Delusion, whenever I talk about, I'm always reminded of Kalidasa. Before he became the great poet Kalidasa, apparently he sat on a branch of a tree and he was cutting that very same branch at its root. He's cutting that branch where it starts. He'll fall. So, this is confusion, this is delusion. Doing things assuming that it's going to bring joy, but actually it is destroying us. We discussed the example of cigarette. One who smokes is burning himself, his own lungs, his heart, everything is destroying. But he is thinking he is bringing joy to himself. This is delusion. These arise when tamas predominates, O Kurunantana. When a person is caught up in tamas, he will not do what he ought to do. He will forego his obligatory duty. He will renounce his obligatory duty. It's not renouncing, but you can say relinquishing. He relinquishes his obligatory duty, what he ought to do, and he'll have to pay for it. I already told you in one of the classes. We'll have to pay for both omissions and commissions. Omissions means not doing what we ought to do. Commissions means doing what we ought not to do. If you do things which you ought not to do, you'll have to pay for it. If you don't do things you ought to do, for that also you have to pay for it. That is what he's saying. It's a typical trait. And when a person is caught in delusion, he will see all things that is detrimental as beneficial. Detrimental as beneficial. Now, it's difficult for us to understand that. How will I see like that? But there are people who see that detrimental. Tamasic fellow doesn't know that it's detrimental. He sees it as beneficial. He sees the benefactor as malefactor. When children grow up and they come to teenage, very often they see their parents, the father and mother, as their enemies. Parents also do a lot of mistakes out of attachment. That's a different thing. But children, especially the teenagers, they'll see as the parents as the negative force in their life. What is this? But the same person, after growing up, when they are 23, 24, 25, they start understanding why my father behaved that way, why my mother behaved that way. What was she saying? Because they've now grown out of it. But that time, it's a difficult time. Similarly, in a person, when the tamas is taken over, it's unbelievable. If you go to any gambling center, what they do is, I was told, I don't know, somebody told me this, they pump up the air. There's more oxygen pumped up there. There's loud music going on. And free alcohol they distribute. All these are unconducive for thinking, and it's all dark area. Everything is kept dark there. Very little lights here and there. And then, in between, as you are in the gambling center and gambling, in between, as you're losing money, you will also win some money in between. It's not that constantly you'll be losing. In between, you'll win. And the moment you win, you think that now I know how to clear this. Now I'll make more money. And that is what is going to make you lose more money actually. You think that you know how to make money now. And that's what they want you to go through. Because if you constantly lose, what you say, right, today my star is not favoring me, I'll come back tomorrow. And tomorrow you may not come. They don't want you to go back. So what do? They will program it in such a way that you will win in between. You might have lost $30. In between you will win $5 or $10. Now you think, I know now. I can get back all my 30 and then make it 300. Then you lose more, whatever you had in your pocket. So therefore, tamas keeps you in darkness. You must understand, first, before starting anything, do I have knowledge in this? எண்ணி துணிக கருமம் துணிந்த பின் எண்ணுவம் என்பது இருக்கு. Remember that திருக்குறள். Before doing any action, you have to think. Don't say that I will think later on. No. Don't enter into any area which you do not know. Doesn't mean that you have to know all the areas. In the area that you don't know, you keep somebody whom you can trust, who knows. A good lawyer, a good doctor, a chartered accountant, you keep them and then through them you function. You take advice and then do. If it's in this area, you take their advice. If it's something else, you go to them. That's how you have to function. In the court of Dasharatha, Vasishta was always there. You understand? What is that trying to tell us? King Janaka is there. Why was he keeping Vashishji always? So, in our life also, we cannot say, I will handle everything, I know everything. The Tamasic fellow will do like this. So many people I know, they come and later on they come and talk to us. Before they don't tell. Especially they themselves get into this share market, no knowledge whatsoever, and they lose all their earnings. You should learn and then get in, whatever field it is. So, I am ignorant. First, I should be aware. I don't know anything. So, when I don't know anything, I have to either learn or surrender to someone who is learned and reliable. Take advice from them, then think about it, and then you do it. So, this is what he's saying. Darkness and inertness. Whenever there is laziness creeping, in the beginning itself, we need to beat it. Otherwise, it's difficult. It's like when you see cobweb, you have to take a jadu broomstick and clean. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. The cobwebs will collect so much that you will become like the pig. You'll get used to it, acclimatized. You will be in that tamas. That is the inertia. It has to be broken in the beginning itself. Then heedless to consequence. I'll do it now. Tomorrow I'll see what happens. That is another problem. And delusion. I mentioned to you when I was talking about Satva and Tamas comparison. Both are sure. Satva also, when you have clarity, you will be very sure this is good or this is not good. Tamas also will be sure. The difference is, Sattvic person will be open-minded. Tamasic person will not be open-minded. Closed. I am telling you. I am telling you. Nowadays we have Google. So we don't ask anybody when we are driving and going somewhere. We follow Google. But sometimes if the Google doesn't work, you have to ask somebody on the road. Should I take left or right? And there are people who don't know. But still they'll say, go right. And you say, are you sure? I am telling you, you go. So that surety, that kind of surety, unbacked by knowledge and closed-minded, is tamas. That is delusion. Sattvic person also will be sure, but open-minded. He's ready to listen. The tamasic fellows are not ready to listen. That's why he says darkness, ignorance, and laziness, heedless to consequence, no thinking about how it will end up, and also delusion. These arise when tamas predominates. Guru Nandana. It's very interesting to see the thought flow here. In verse number 11, he says, when the light of wisdom streams forth, Satva is predominant. See the way in which he is presenting it. When light of wisdom streams forth, Satva is predominant, is what he said in verse number 11. In 12, he says, when Rajas is predominant, greed, etc. arise. When Tamas is predominant, darkness, etc. arise. So, in Rajas and Tamas, he says, greed, etc., darkness, etc. arise. When Satva is predominant, he says, he doesn't say light of wisdom arise. He says light of wisdom streams forth. Why does he say so? When Tamas, the clouding factor, and Rajas, the agitating factor, is removed, then the truth from within shines through. Hence, he doesn't say arise. You understand? When you are caught up with too many desires, then these things arise. When you are clouded by ignorance, these qualities arise. But the clarity is not arising. That's your original nature. You are the self. You are the Atma. But because of all the cobwebs are the Tamas and Rajas. When this Tamas and Rajas is removed, then the truth, the self, which is brilliance, which is within you, shines through. It starts shining through your personality. So if you can conquer the inertia, and if you can control and direct the desires, then you will see that the clarity shines through from within. That is all he's saying here. That's why this choice of words are like this. When the light of wisdom streams forth, Satva is predominant. When Rajas is predominant, greed arises. And when Tamas is predominant, darkness arises. So you are already the self. You are already the brilliance. There is no need to bring in brilliance from outside. In Tirukkural again, Tiruvallur says, கற்றனைத்து ஊரும் மணற்கேணி மாந்தர்க்கு தொற்றனைத்து ஊரும் அறிவு. Means what? It is coming from within. Educate means to eke out, to draw out. So, it is not stuffing from outside. Even when we read Gita and all, it is not stuffing from outside. It is removing all the non-essentials and allowing the truth to express itself. See, Swami Ramtirtha gives a beautiful example. He says, in a kingdom, there were two great painters. And king wanted to know who is the best amongst the two. Both are great, but who is the best amongst the two, he wanted to know. So what he did is, he said, I will give you both 1 month's time. And 2 walls facing each other in my palace. 1 wall I give to you, 1 wall I give to you. Huge wall. 30 days, both of you paint. Then with me, a lot of other ministers and experts will come. On the 31st day, we will have a look at both the paintings and decide who is the best. 30 days were given. One fellow, painter number 1, he came on the very first day with all his equipments, instruments, he started painting. And the second fellow was not coming at all. 10th day, second fellow is not there. 15th day, second fellow is not there. Half of the painting of the first fellow is already done. Second fellow is not even come. 25 days also, second fellow has not come. So they thought this fellow is useless. He comes just 2 days before. I think 28th day or so he comes. And he doesn't bring anything. He only brings the emery sheet, sandpaper, emery sheet. and is going on smoothing his side of the wall. And that fellow is almost completed his painting. This fellow is just starting to smoothen his side of the wall. And in 2 days, that fellow completes his painting. It's beautiful, brilliant painting. This fellow is going on smoothing his wall. He has smoothened it so much that it almost becomes like a mirror. So the painting done by painter number 1 is totally reflected on the wall of painter number 2. Painter number 2 didn't paint at all. Simply he smoothened the wall so that it became like a mirror and was mirroring the other fellow's painting. And he smoothened it so much that you could see the depth in the reflection. So, Swami Ramtita says, this is the difference. One fellow goes on painting, the other fellow goes on smoothing, removing. So the process of evolution is not accumulating. It's not accumulation. It's not that we become more brilliant. You start reading Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad and all that, then you become more informative, so you're a more brilliant person. No. A brilliant person is one who removes the heedlessness, one who removes the inertia, one who removes the area of ignorance, one who surrenders in the area of ignorance, one who removes the delusion, one who removes the greed, one who removes the urge to undertake work, longing. These things he keeps on removing. That's why as you're growing intelligent, from the true sense of the term, you won't be acquiring more. You will be removing all the nonsense. There's a lot of nonsense we have acquired. Generally, we say, when a person is old, person will be very, very knowledgeable. True, because a lot of experience may be, but it is not necessary that everybody will be knowledgeable. Because of so many experiences, you could be conditioned as well. Because you never had time to think. You could be extremely conditioned person. So therefore, it is removing rajas and tamas. Removing rajas and tamas, Satva comes out. So that is the thing we need to understand. The way he presents it, that's important. That's why we talk about it. Even in Swamiji's commentary, he mentions this point. So when you come to spirituality, please understand. In fact, Swamiji conducts a 3 years course online. We have these online courses called e-learning. All this, you can listen to Swamiji. You can enroll yourself for that and listen. Now what he says is, when you listen to me, first of all, listen to me early hours, between 4 and 6. Get up at least by 4:45. Sit from 5 to 6, listen to me. And he says, don't take any notes. Don't take any notes. Simply listen. Why? Because if you take notes, you can accumulate more information. Why then he has to say that don't do that? It is not accumulating information. It is clearly registering every point that he says and then later on reflecting on the points that has gone through you and things that has to be left behind, like attachment and greed, has to be left behind so that you freely move ahead in your life. That's the idea. But what we do is, we collect more notes. We contact the other students who are studying with us and say, maybe I have left few points. You please give us more points. As if gaining more and more points is going to do something to me. Even 1 point, if I reflected properly, is enough. See, we are studying Gita for so many years. There's one line now which said, undertaking of works. Reduce them. See how much change will happen in your life. Unnecessary, all kinds of things you take it on your head. No one have to. So, one thing you practice, you will see tremendous change in your life. What will happen if you follow few more? So one by one, you start implementing. That's the idea. It's not collecting, it's implementing. And that's what he's trying to say here. Sattva is not something that you bring from outside. When you properly deal with tamas and rajas and reduce them, sattva will shine through you. Clarity will come in you automatically. Because you are removing, so that brilliance from within shines. Now, if supposing there's a 1,000 watts bulb in a room, but it is covered with all kinds of blankets, dark blankets you have put on top of that 1,000 watts bulb, nothing will, there won't be any brightness in the room at all. It will be dark. One by one, you remove all the blankets, you will see the brilliance coming forth. So the idea is to eliminate rajas strictly, and then, eliminate tamas strictly, and manage, control and direct rajas, and then slowly eliminate that also. Then sattva shines through you, shines through your personality. There will be clarity with reference to perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts. This is what we learn from this shlokas 11, 12, and 13. He's teaching us this. You should understand this is sattva. If sattva is increasing in you, you will see the clarity there. Tamas means greed, rajas means greed, tamas means ignorance, delusion, heedless to consequence, etc. So, as you understand these concepts, if you put it into practice in your life, then you will be not so much concerned about increasing sattva. You will be concerned about eliminating tamas, managing, directing, and rising above rajas. Then sattva automatically increases. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.